Blog Talk Radio.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Jets Radio, the fan series. I'm your host, Tyson Roush, and what this is we're taking time to just talk to Jets fans, talk about the future, the past, the good, the bad, and everything else. If you want to be on this, just hit me up, TRAUCH on 21, at Talk Jets Radio on Twitter. We're always around. We always answer tweets and everything else. If you want to come on, let's do it. Have a good time. So I'm sitting here on a Friday evening around 6:30 having a beer. I'm like, you know what? Let me reach out to my good friend Ryan Barger and see what he is up to, because he always wants to talk Jets. So, Ryan, it's Tyson. What's up, man?
Tyson, how's it going, man?
Oh, dude, I'm just living the dream. Dude, first of all, thank you for your time. And I guess you're down there in Virginia, man. I had the opportunity to meet you, man. I had a great time down there. You're such a great fan. Tell me, how in the hell did you become a Jets fan down in Virginia?
Actually, around here, we're a hard breed to find. I mean, you get groups every now and then. For me, it was probably back, I would probably say, 86, 87. I was probably about 5 years old. My brother is about 8 years older than me. He was a diehard Redskins fan. And, of course, me being the younger brother, that's all I ever did was look up to him and want to spend time with him. And one of the things that we always did bonding growing up was we would always, and, of course, my brother had all of the teams as far like the helmet refrigerator magnets. So, of course, you know, it was always a big deal of, all right, go up to the refrigerator, pick out your team. And, you know, me being a little kid, the green color attracted me as well as the logo. So I would always pick, it would either be the Jets or it would be the Chargers. But I kind of leaned more towards the Jets side. And after that, you know, hanging around him a little bit more, it wasn't necessarily just watching Redskin game, it was just watching football games in general. And I would lean towards wanting to watch the Jets as much as I could. It wasn't probably until about 92 that I really started to become a fan. Dennis Byrd was one of the main reasons of me finally solidifying my decision and sticking with, because that was one of the things my brother had always told me. He was like, if you're going to pick a team, you pick a team and that's it. That's your loyalty. You can't just be jumping bandwagons left and right. And it was kind of crazy, too, because my household we were never a family of all liking the same team or even two different teams. You know, my dad was a 49ers fan, my mom was a Vikings fan, my sister was a Dallas Cowboy fan, and my brother being the Redskin fan. So it's not like, you know, we really had a whole lot in common when it came to sports. So it was kind of good at times having the diversity, but yeah, I would say probably around 92, and with Dennis Byrd going through everything that he went through, and to just see him fight his way back, and just seeing his passion for the game and for the team and his determination to come back, that really made me love the team and the organization and just him as a player. So I wanted to be a Jet fan for life after that.
Yeah, that's a hell of a story, dude. That's, you know, there's moments like that. Like what made me a Jets fan was back in like 1986. My family was all Giants fans, like diehard. And for my birthday, my dad wanted to take me to a football game, and he couldn't get Giants tickets because they were in such hot demand. They were such a good team and everything else. So he's like, you know what, frig it. I'll bring him to a Jets game. You know, like Jets Browns, Brian Sipe, like look at, you know, like he got me great seats, got a Jets bench. It was phenomenal. And I go in this, like, we tailgate, obviously, and then, like, you know, I'm a kid at this point. You know, I had, like, barbecue. I'm, like, so excited. Like, I can eat hamburgers. I'm so excited, all this stuff. And I go inside the stadium, and it's, like, a larger-than-life experience. You're like, holy shit. Like, what is this big building with all these people wearing green and white? Like, this is amazing. And I hear the Jets chant, and I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, whatever this is, I love it. And this is it. Like, they're yelling, and the Jets, they blew them out. They won the game. But it was, like, the chant, the environment, all the stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm hooked. And that's it. That was the moment for me. And it's like, all right, you know, years later, you're like, oh, wow, I never realized how much this carries on. Now, being a Jets fan down in Virginia, what is it like, man? Like, what is it like dealing with those? I mean, I saw you down there when they practice against the Redskins. Redskins fans are diehard, they're loyal, and there's thousands and thousands of them. What's it like being a Jets fan down there?
You get the weird looks. depending on, what you're wearing that day. Sometimes you get some shatty comments here and there, but, people feel sorry for you, or, why do you pull for a team that sucks so bad? And I just tell people that, look, it takes a rare breed of person to be able to sign up for long tenures of suffering. But it's kind of hard to get upset about. I mean, like you've talked about and other people have talked, like we've been so used to mediocre play over so long that I used to just get so pissed off. And just after a while, I kind of got numb to it. And a lot of times people will come up and try to give you shit, and then it's like, if you joke back, yeah, I know my team sucks. And then it's just like, oh, and then people just turn around and walk off. So, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. People say what they want. I mean, have we had struggles? Yeah. Have we had, strong points in different seasons? Yeah. Have we come close a couple times? You bet. But to me, it's the journey to get there. In my opinion, when that day comes, and I'm hoping it comes soon, and just as anybody else, but that's what's going to make it all worth it in the long run. I will probably lose my shit. When this actually happens. And then, like I said, then it's going to come full circle. And then, I would die happy. I'd be more than fine. So,
yeah, that's the one.
Until then.
Yep. Dude, I agree. Like, it's so funny because 5 minutes is the same thing. We've all said the same thing. It's like just making the Super Bowl, they usually have that 2-week break. I'll be drunk for the first week. I'll be plastered for the first weeks. I'll be so happy. I'll be celebrating. And then if they actually win it, like, dude, this will be, like, there's always those parades at Canyon of Heroes, and you see all these parades with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles and all this other shit. Dude, this will be the most epic, legendary post-Super Bowl party this world's ever seen. Because Jet fans, we've been punished and tortured, and like you said, like, I'm to the point now where we're harder on our team than opposing fans are. Like, you can't tell me nothing about my team I don't already know. I've already seen all this shit. I'm like, you know what, dude, I know we suck. I know our coach sucks. I know we fumbled the ball. I know this. Like, I know it all. We know. We live it all the time. So you can't insult us because we were already mad and miserable as it is. But you're right, dude. It's like you can't quit this team because you know the minute you quit them is the minute they're going to win. But then you just want to be there for that. You want to be there for the party, dude. You want to be there when they raise that trophy and you're like, God damn it. Like, dude, the party will be epic. It's going to be legendary. It'll be it's going to be ridiculous.
Oh, dude, I've already had people ask me that, if the Jets had gone to the Super Bowl, would I want to go and see them in the Super Bowl? And I said, hell no. Like, I'm more than perfectly fine just sitting in my house watching it. But you bet your ass that if they win that shit, I already told work. I was like, you may as well go ahead and book me off for a week of vacation. I said, because I'm gone. Like, I'm going straight up to New York. So I was like, dude, it's funny, and then I may need another week of recoup time.
It's funny you say that because the last 2 championship games, we like, I was in the same kind of boat where I'm like, listen, do I want to go to the championship game? Or if they win it, do I want to go to Super Bowl? I'm like, you know what? I want to go to the championship game. I want to be there when they clinch it. Like, I was in Pittsburgh, I was in Indianapolis, and I'm like, I want to see, like, because that to me is the real fan experience. Like, that's the real fan. That's the diehard. Like, that's like, I want to see him clinch it. I want to see him celebrate. I want to do all that. And then for the Super Bowl, I may go to the town that it's in. I'm not going to the game. I want to be in a bar. Like, I don't want to be, like, to me the Super Bowl's too like commercial. It's not real fans. I want to be next to real fans during the Super Bowl to, when they win it, just celebrate like it's no end. Like you said, dude, my people I work, they know, dude. They know, like, listen, they win the Super Bowl, he's out for 2 weeks. Like, it's not even going to happen. We're not even going to pretend because he is here. It'd be useless. But it will be legendary, man. So now, talking about this, what are some of your favorite memories from this team, man? You've been a fan a long time.
Well, I would probably say, I guess game-wise, I mean, to me, probably the most memorable was, just like others have mentioned, was the Jets playing the Patriots in 2010 in the playoffs. For me, the backstory for me on that is when they lost to the Pats 45-3, a group that I worked with, and of course they were Patriots fans at the time, and we went to a bar called All Sports, and of course we had the whole back room reserved, and they had it up on, just one single big screen. And of course, going in to watch the game, sit down, I've got a couple pitchers of beer ready to go, And, a lot of times how you get that feeling like the first 5 or 10 minutes of the game, and you already know how the rest of the damn game is going to go. And Melanie bitches me out about it at times, and she's like, why are you already saying that they're going to lose? Like, you don't know. There's still a whole game left. And I'm like, you just got to be a part of this organization for a while. So, but in retrospect, that's how she gets anytime Notre Dame's on. Like, as soon as Notre Dame's on, bam. I mean, she's cussing at the TV right up at the front, kicking in the air and everything else. So, but, yeah, dude, that was a long, probably 3.5 hours, however long that game lasted. And, it was just ridicule. People coming back there because, of course, I'm fully decked out in my Jets gear, and people coming in there and just jokes nonstop. And that was hard. And then, but, of course, going into the playoffs and the whole build-up to that game, again, with Dennis Bird's speech to the team, him donating, his jersey, and what he was able to, I guess, relay to them and how it inspired a lot of the players. And kind of like what Tyrone had said with, how LT's speech went, them going into New England, playing with a purpose. And that's how you want your team to play now. That's, like you said, it's going into this season like you're wanting your team to change its culture. Like, you don't want them to go into game one playing scared. You don't want them going into game one coaching scared. Like, that shit's got to go out the door. Like, if you're wanting to start a new culture, you got to go in there and be willing to punch somebody in the mouth. And until that happens, I mean, can they do it? Yeah, but I mean, they got to get rid of all this crap that they've been doing. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can't already start out the season with the idea of, again, Chris Johnson saying, well, I hope my team's going to show up to play. I mean, what kind of shit is that? Like, you can't, again, that's just unacceptable. At what point are you going to hold them accountable? Either you're going to or you're not. So, but yeah, that game was probably one of the most, that and probably Monday Night Miracle was a big one. I remember I had a handful of friends wanting me to go fishing that night, and I'm like, no, I can't leave. And of course, my dumb ass ended up, I think it was probably like 12 o'clock, 12:30, and I'm like, all right, screw it, I'm going to leave. We'll go down to the lake and start fishing. And like, as soon as I hop in the car, I was able to get the game on the radio and them win, and I was like, shit, of course, as soon as I leave, they're going to pull it off. But those were probably two of the most memorable games for me. But
dude, I got a funny story about that. I was actually at that game, the Monday Night Miracle, and you're sitting there and you're watching them get their asses kicked, and you're like, oh god damn it! Like, it's like it's late at night, it's a work night. You're like, dude, do we want to leave? And so many fans were leaving because I had season tickets. So when so many fans were leaving, I'm like, you know what? Fuck this! I'm not going to leave because we're going to be sitting in traffic. That's how many fans were leaving. I'm like, why are we going to leave now? I'm like, let's just stay. We'll have some beer. Like, we're just going to drink beer and just hang out. And, like, let's just endure it. Like, what else are we going to do? We're Jets fans. So slowly but surely they started coming back. My buddy's like, dude, I'm like, dude, they're not winning this game. I'm like, but I'll stay and watch. We're tortured fans. I might as well just stay and watch at this point. So they come back. Yeah. And as the game's playing out in the fourth quarter, fans start coming back in the stadium, which was just completely wild. Now looking back, every fan you talked to was like, I was there. I'm like, you weren't there because there was probably 25,000 fans there at that point. But we didn't get home till like probably 3 o'clock in the morning from the game. I go to work. I had to be at work at 7 o'clock the next morning. The newspapers and everything they all assumed the Jets lost. Like, a lot of people went to bed thinking the Jets lost. So the next morning, I go to work, and they're like, your team sucks. You guys blow. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, dude, you got blown up by the Dolphins. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because keep on, they didn't have, like, Twitter and shit back then. I'm like, what are you talking about? The Jets won last night. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, they won. Like, this, like, it was just the craziest experience. But you made an awesome point. Good. No, go ahead.
They had a... go ahead.
No, go. You go.
I was going to say... How you were talking about with the writers. I did watch a video, I think it was off of the Jets app, and they were talking about how a lot of the reporters, like, they pretty much already had, like, their articles written, like, in the first quarter. And then, like, as shit started to go back in the Jets' favor, like, they were like, oh, okay, well, we can still keep it for the most part, but maybe just tweak it. And then, like, they said by the end of the game, like, they had to pretty much completely, like, rewrite all their entire article because of just how everything panned out that they weren't even expecting it to happen.
No, it's true, dude. Like I said, like the next day, most people in this area, they thought the Jets lost. They're like, I'm like, dude, they won. Like, I had no voice. I had bloodshot eyes. I'm like, listen, I didn't get home until 3 in the morning. I can assure you they won. But you made an excellent point about certain things about this team and how a game is going to go. And it's so true. And that's the funny thing about, you can tell, like, when you're interacting on social media with Jets fans, the difference between the tenured fan and the new fan. And I bring it up all the time because fans attack me all the time, dude. Like, I get blasted all the time. I'm cool with it. I don't care. But it's so funny because, like, last year, you knew in that Dolphin game, the Dolphins were winless, the way that game started, you're like, yep, this is one of these games. Like, or even the Bengals game. The Bengals game, within the first 7 minutes, I'm like, we're in deep shit. I'm like, my friend's like, dude, I'm like, the Barrios drop, I'm like, that's it. The minute they drop the pass, I'm like, dude, we're done. I'm like, I've seen this so many friggin' times before, and until we have a strong leadership and strong guidance and the ability to overcome adversity consistently, it's not going to change. And that's like, everybody keeps talking about culture and mindset and all this other nonsense, which sounds great. Like, we draft all these culture players. Dude, that whole thing starts at the top with ownership, the general manager, the coach. But that's the thing that has to change the most here, man. Like we know when they're going to lose. Like, you could see it. You could see the body, like how they handle themselves, like everything. It just happens so fast, and it's like, oh, here we go again. And that's one thing I think going into this year is key, man. Like, getting Mosley back is going to help. Sam Darnold, another year of him in the system is going to help. But they, as a collective unit, from top to bottom, have to have a different mindset, handle things so much better.
Now, do you think that that's why that they signed so many captains? I mean, granted, like you had said, that it needs to come from, from the owner to the GM to the coach. It needs to trickle down to the players. I mean, that's part of coaching, you know what I'm saying? But do you think that's probably why they brought in so many captains? That way it's, hey, they don't have to worry about just some jackass being out there on the field like that he just totally doesn't give a shit, that you've got more than enough people out there that the intangibles are there, they've got a good sense of the fundamentals, the communication is a whole lot better. You know that they're going to put in the extra work, especially with, I guess, a shortened off-season program, that could only help. But at the same time, like you said, you can't solely throw it all on the players. At some point, like you said, the coaching has to be held accountable. And if they're not going, then we're not going to go anywhere. Like you said,
that's the thing, dude.
Yeah, it all just becomes routine.
Like, if you think about it, like, every coach, Rex brought in, Bart Scott and Jim Leonard, like, his enforcers in the locker room. The best example I have of that is Bill Parcells, when he brought in all his guys, like, all the no-shit guys, like the Brian Coxes, all these guys, like, listen, it's my way or the highway, we're doing this, like, it's that instinct. And I think the problem was, from everything that we've read and heard, is that Todd Bowles, for whatever reason, trusted his players, and things may not have been as strict as disciplined as we wanted them to be. And that locker room got to be kind of like a little bit looser and not a lot of like you had Mo Wilkerson doing whatever what he wanted to do, and you had all this different shit going on, Darren Lee and all this other nonsense. So now it's like, all right, listen, we clearly brought in the wrong type of players, and we had the wrong mindset in this locker room. And I'm sure Adam Gase last year said, hey, you know what, dude, I don't know what the hell's going on here, but we got to turn this shit upside down because this ain't going to work. Like, whether he's a good coach or not, we don't know, but I know that we got to get better at attending meetings and being on time and being in shape and everything else. And then Joe Douglas probably noticed too, said, listen, we need to, it's like, you can't have Tremaine Johnsons. You can't have a guy you pay $15 million a year and guys want to practice or is always hurt or has complaints. Or like, you need guys that if you do pay them, like a Jamal Adams, they're going to be you're the hardest working guy in the room. Like Sam Darnold is that, like first in, last out. Like you need all those guys to be like that. If you look at all the successful teams, like I interviewed Aaron Glenn like 2 weeks ago. He praised the mindset of the New Orleans Saints, the locker room, the intensity, the family, how they all for one for all, but the unity and how they all work so hard every day. Like he's like they go to the locker room and they're in the weight room together. They're a very united group, and that makes you win. So I think Joe Douglas and Adam Gase saw that and like listen, listen, I don't like Adam Gase, but I think they probably realized, listen, we got to clean up a lot of shit here. We have a mess. We have bad players with bad work ethic, with just a lot of excuses for losing, and they justify losing. They did it last year too, but. So I think that's part of it, man. I think that's why they draft different players, and Joe Douglas has 5 more years to do this, so he's he has the wiggle room to get through this. But I think that's one of the biggest things, man, to be honest with you.
Well, I was listening to Curtis Martin's Hall of Fame speech today, and one of the coolest damn quotes that I've ever heard in my life was one that he had brought up that Parcells had told him and said that there's a huge difference between routine and commitment. And him telling him that there's a lot of people that can follow the same routine over and over, and they can even get better at that routine, but there's very few people that'll commit to the next level. And that's, Curtis Martin had said that was something that stuck with him. And I think that's, again, like, in my opinion, you don't hear people talk like that all the time anymore in the league. You don't. You find there are a good handful of people that do, that have that level of passion. And like you had said, I think that's what Douglas is seeing, and those are the type of players that he wants. I'm not going to sit here and, deem him an all-star GM yet. After going back and looking at all the picks from the draft, I can't argue with it. I would have liked for them to have taken another receiver as well. I see what direction he's going. I'm just glad that he drafted with a legitimate plan. Like, he wasn't rushed. He wasn't panicking. He took people that he wanted to bring in. Now, granted, that all remains to be seen on whether or not if that's, I don't understand the whole draft grade thing immediately after the draft because of the fact you've never seen any of these people take the field. So, again, you don't know how people are going to gel together. You don't know how people are going to be able to communicate and play. You can have all the talent in the world and it's still not register on the field. So, And again, that all ties in not just with the talent and players, that ties in with, the game plan and the coaching and, how well everything goes. So, that's all up in the air. It's a lot to see.
But the thing is, you can see it. You can see exactly what you're talking about. Like, we're fortunate enough to go to practices, and we see it. And, like, you can see the players that want to be there and the players that don't. The players that will get in their 5 reps and then take their helmet off and sit on the sidelines, and the players that are sitting next to the coach, like, I want to go back in. I want to go back in. Like the energy that Jamal Adams brings to the table is so infectious. Or like C.J. Mosley, you could just tell. And what you need to do is you need to have more of those guys as opposed to less of those guys. Like, you need to have the guys that are all in. Like, you know what? Like, and it's just that's the whole rejuvenation of your roster. And they're not good enough to have guys that can slack off. Like, they're at the point now where everybody's got to play at their max level so they can compete. You know what I mean? Because they have so many parts. So now you we talked about the draft, and I'm the same way, dude. Like, draft grades are nonsense. I can give a shit about that. Like, I understand, the rhyme or reason. I give Joe Douglas credit for the way he navigated the draft, how they went about it. The players, listen, who knows? Like, you hope you get 3 or 4 contributors. But then you look at, we went into this offseason with a lot of expectations, and for 4 or 5 months on Let's Talk Jets, it was like Conklin and Thuney and, get Clowney and all this other shit. All these big names. Yeah. And then once the dust settled, we didn't get any of those big names. We got McGovern, who a lot of people wanted. But other than that, a lot of players we signed, nobody really wanted. They were just like, oh, that's cool. Like, this is interesting. So you look at it, you're like, all right, if the primary goal, in my opinion, of this offseason was to upgrade the offense, which I think you can agree to, did they significantly upgrade it? Like, how comfortable are you with this offense as of May 15th?
I would say that, I would say on paper they are a bit better, I guess, offensively. Offensive line play to their max capability for it already, again, being a short off-season program, and again, with maybe having limited time with each other. And as long as they stay fairly healthy, I could see them being in the, maybe best case scenario, 12th to 17th range in the league. I could see them being like middle of the pack. I don't see them being in the bottom as far as, because I think they've done enough with the offensive line. Granted, I don't think they should be complacent. If they have a way to upgrade even more, then by all means do it. That's the object of the game. You should never be okay with just status quo. That's why I'm on board with as far as them trying to make a play for Warford as well. Just go ahead and cut Winters, and then if it's I've read reports where it's Warford's looking for around $7 million. All right, well then that's only $500,000 more than what Winters was going to cost anyway. So. Or even if it ends up being where we got to pay him $9 or $10, all right, fine, shit, I'll go ahead and I'll pay you an extra few $1 million. Like, I'm not going to let that affect
Right.
upgrading the line even more, especially if, I mean, I don't know how with crap. What was the one that went on to the pup? Who's the receiver that went on the pup? I'm brain farting here.
On the Bucks?
No. The went on the pup list with Quincy. Who was the other one? What was the other dude's name? I can't remember.
Oh shit! You got me caught too. Shit. Keep going.
You know who I'm talking about. It's
yeah,
not
exactly.
Important for me to remember. I'm okay.
Yeah.
All right. So cut him. That saves you another $2.5. Go ahead. Cut him too. Save that money. Package that together. I mean, you're already upgrading on that spot. I mean, to me, upgrade it. Get an edge rush and make a play for another wide receiver. I mean, I'm past the Logan Ryan crap. That's one of those. If you wanted to sign, dude. Like, you're trying to drive your price up, dude. I don't have time for it. It's one of the I'm not saying we have any Darrelle Revises on the team right now, but we may have enough serviceable cornerbacks. Where maybe down the line we can make a trade for somebody, or maybe we get one of the up and coming all-stars in next year's draft.
But aren't you?
I mean, it's not going to be fixed overnight, but
aren't you surprised like that? We'll stay with receivers for a second, because they got rid of Quincy's one PUP. Josh Bellamy is the other guy that's out. So now you have a bunch of guys there where it's like, all right, like, the Perryman thing. I mean, I don't know. Like, my thing with the wide receiver group is, like, we went in there wanting, like, my expectations this offseason were significantly upgrade the wide receiver position, surround Sam with weapons. Can we say they did that? My answer is I hope so. Like, I don't really have a lot of confidence with that, because to me Perryman's not a known commodity. Like, he's a journeyman receiver that had 5 good games that everybody's touting him as the next big thing. The only saving grace that Joe Douglas is familiar with him, so maybe he has an inside track and he knows what he can get out of him. Denzel Mims, phenomenal talent, but listen, take that talent, bring it to the NFL, and be a day one starter and contribute immediately is a lot to ask for a young player. So
they take at least a couple of years anyway. Yeah.
So the wide receiver position to me is just like I'm still concerned, man. Like, I'd like to add somebody else, and I keep talking about it, like, and I don't like people like, who do you want? Anybody, dude. Like Paul Richardson, Taylor Gabriel, anybody. Just bring in players. Like, the more the merrier. Just the same way they handled the cornerback position, the offensive line position. Handle it the same way. Bring in as much competition as possible, and don't sell me on this Josh Doxson shit and say, oh, well, you don't understand what we have. I understand what we have. That's why I want other players. Like, let's make always constant upgrades. You know what I mean? Like, constant upgrades. So you look at the offense, you have that. The running back position, this Frank Gore thing, whatever. I mean, fine. But now on defense, it's so weird that they keep talking about corners and other players. And like, why is pass rusher not on this list? I just don't understand it. Like, there's 3 or 4 guys out there that can contribute now that are better than anything we've had in the last 4 years. And for whatever reason, we're not even associated with any of them.
Yeah. And, I mean, they don't even have to be all pro. I mean, they're more than serviceable enough. Now, I wouldn't go the Clowney route. Like I said, if he's still wanting, I don't know why in the hell that dude wants as much as apparently he's still asking for at this point. He needs to just drop his price. I'm on board with Marcus Golden as well. I was watching a lot of mic'd up and just different highlights of him and going back and reading through some of his stats. And actually, one of the mic'd up videos that I watched, he's got that drive to him. I mean, and if you watch the plays, he plays balls out from the start to the very end. He finishes the play, and he's got such a high motor. And the cool thing about it is if you go onto YouTube and you pull it up, just listen to his mic'd up, and him coming to the sideline, he's engaging with the other players on defense. And rookies, he's working with them. Hey, guys, look, this is what you're doing. Pay attention to how they move this way, because if you do this, you can get plays. Like, he's working with his team. Like, you don't want those people that are just going to shut up and go sit down and isolate themselves. That's what you want on the team. You want the guys that are going to be passionate. So, and play for, and like you said, you can get him for probably the fraction of what you could get Clowney. And you're probably going to get a lot more output out of him.
Dude, I hate the Clowney idea. I hate it for so many freaking reasons. In many ways, he underachieves. And the worst thing I hate, and the more in the world, is when people break out these PFF stats. Well, he had all these pressures, and he had this. Dude, I don't really give a shit. You want to give this guy $13 million a year for a 1-year rental, and he's not going to stay here long term because he's going to want the big payday sooner or later, and he can't guarantee he's going to stay healthy. So what are we paying for?
He's got pressures. Yeah. Well, because you're paying for a name is what it is.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
You're paying for the hype around him.
Exactly. And to me, I would rather have a dude that might have a lesser name that can fit the system better and go out there and ball out and not only make himself better, but other players better. You give me that any day under the sun, and I'd be more than happy with that.
Dude, and the thing is, like a guy like Golden, like that's why I've been talking about him for 4 months. I'm like, dude, like he is the right fit for this team. And give him a 2-year deal, 2 years, $10 million, 2 years, $12 million. I don't just give it to him. He has the work ethic, the motor, the energy. He'd be a perfect tool for Greg Williams. And let's roll. Let's do it. Like address like they got lucky bringing back Jordan Jenkins, and the price was insane. They have Luvu, they have other guys, they have the guy they drafted. I understand all this, and that's great. But bring in guys that have done it. Like he's got 10 sacks. He knows how to get to the quarterback. Like, and maybe they maybe still do it. Yet it's just, but to me, it's just a no brainer. Like I do that over Logan Ryan. Like I just would.
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat. Yeah.
So I mean,
don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying that I was against them trying to bring in Logan Ryan, but after the Good Morning Football crap, and then some of these other articles that have been coming out as far as him trying to drive up his price and stuff, like. Don't get me wrong, dude. Like, I fully get it, man. You're trying to take care of you and your family. You're getting older. You're trying to get a little bit of a bigger contract. But at the same time, like, I'm done with this team being, like, some kind of a stepping stool for somebody. You know what I mean? Like, no. Like, if that's how you're going to play, either you want to play for this team or you don't. Like, I understand contract negotiations, but when it boils down to it, it's either, dude, you want to be here or you don't. And if you don't, deuces, bye.
Yeah,
I got I'm going to go spend time somewhere else because,
The other thing is, too, is like and this is a passing league that corners are a premium position. Like everybody wants good corners. And I know he had, with four sacks and 4 interceptions and all these tackles for loss and all this other shit. But listen, at some point, if teams aren't biting on you and it's May and you still aren't signed yet, there's something going on. If your contract demands are so ridiculous, or you're not worth the money, like you're just not worth the money you're asking for. Like there's got to be something. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't blame Joe Douglas for waiting it out. Good for him. But to me, and it's like I had somebody attacking me today on Twitter, like, "Oh, dude, we need him for our secondary." No, we don't. We have plenty of young talent there. You have Bryce Hall. You have all these guys you brought in. You have You have a lot of competition. The way you help your secondary out is with a pass rush. Like you could have 2 Pro Bowl corners, 2 Pro Bowl safeties. If they have to cover for 5 or 6 or 7 seconds, everybody's getting exposed. Everybody. So the way you change that is by bringing in a pass rush. Like, this is football 101, in my opinion. Like, it's just crazy. So I agree with you there. So now, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, so we talked a little bit about the defense, a little bit about the offense. So now, going into training camp, or like whatever OTAs are going to be, God knows when that is, but what are your thoughts on this team, man? Are they much improved? Are they ready to compete with the Buffalo Bills? Like, where do you think they stand right now? Good question, bad question?
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, I would say, again, on paper, yeah, dude, it looks like they could compete with just about anybody. Now, whether they win the game or not, I couldn't, tell you. But I think we're getting into a lineup that we can expect to see competitive football. At least I would hope, as far as, and like I said, a lot of that hinges on how Gase game plans, which I'm not very confident in until he proves me wrong. I'd love for him to prove me wrong. Yeah, I mean, I think they could. I want to be optimistic and say that they're going to go into week 1 with a chip on their shoulder because of them still being labeled as, one of the worst or a laughing stock, and to, want to prove people wrong. I think they had a good level of talent, even though we had the amount of injuries that we had last year. even though, granted, I understand that we had an easier schedule towards the end, but there were a lot of players that were still making plays. So, or were showing improvement. So you can only hope that they build off of that. It's encouraging to see. I had seen a video with Mims that he has already been talking on and off with Darnold as far as like trying to build up a rapport. And I think I had heard something about that they were going to try to work on a way to get together and work out, or try to do some pass catch type scenarios and stuff. I think it was the same thing with a few of the offensive linemen as well, just doing that on their own. So, I mean, it's encouraging that at least they're taking the initiative and not just waiting for, an off-season program to start, because I think right now they're just doing
You're thinking the team that's ready to compete in December, like they'll have meaningful games in December?
Do I think they'll be ready to compete in December?
Yep, because this team has have a good enough season where they'll play meaningful games in December. Some tough questions, right?
Yeah. I would probably December. I'm going to say no. I think they'll last until November.
Christ. Great.
Yeah.
I'm a lost December, man. You're killing my dreams,
like
man.
I said, I just don't. I don't have the faith in Gase. I really don't. I want to so bad. I want to drink the green Kool-Aid, man, but at the same time, like, it's just that little person in the back of your head that's like, they're going to suck again, dude. Like, you got to come back down to reality a little bit. So,
dude, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Dude, I know, like, it's so funny because, like, whenever we go out, like, we go out drinking with our friends or hanging out, having barbecues and stuff like that, everybody's like, so what do you think, man? I'm like, well, what answer do you want? Do you want the Jets fan that's beaten down and kind of knows it's going to happen, or do you want the Jets fan that's had 3 or 4 beers and wants to be positive and try to embrace some kind of happiness for the next 3 months?
Yeah.
Because, like, you have that sense of doubt where it's like, all right, Sam Darnold can play a lot better. He should. Mosley's coming back. There's a lot of new pieces. Becton should be a really good addition. Like, there's a lot of really good things here. But the X factor, it's like, can Gase do it? And history says no, and we'll see. Like, it's just, I can know what you say, man. It's like you just had that in the back of your head. You're like, why am I saying this? Because
I mean, I guess it's more crazy. Like a tempered expectation. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to psych myself up too much, because I think for me, getting older and being a fan even longer of the team, I think it would just piss me off even more, and just make me drink a lot more heavily. So
yeah,
it's
you get mad at yourself. You do, right? Like,
yeah.
I'll buy, like, dude, I did it last year. Last year, I was fucking convinced. I'm like, they're going to turn this shit around. They're going to win 3 in a row. They're going to be back in the hunt, and they're going to do all this shit. And they go out and lay the egg. I'm like, what? Like, why did I buy into this? Like, I know better. Like, when you say it, like, you try to convince yourself, especially the Jets, man, we're always convincing ourselves of something. And it's like, why did I buy into this? Why do I make myself believe in this shit? Because it always blows up my face. Then you spend the next 3 weeks pissed at yourself. It happens every year.
Well, and like you said, and then you get backlash, because then when you bring it up, then people want to be like, why are you got to be so negative? Like, why does everything got to be, one extreme or the other? I mean, shit, like, can't you just be happy? And it's like, it's not that I'm trying to be negative. Like you've said a million different times, it's, hey, man, I'm trying to be objective about it. I'm trying to look at it, how it needs to be looked at. I mean, like I said, you can hope all day long. That's because, like I said, at the end of the day, none of us are rooting for any of the players or the coaches to fail. Nope. We all want to see them do good. We all want to see them succeed. I would love for Gase to prove me wrong, just like Jay or anybody else that has said anything. I mean, at the end of the day, that's our team. That's who we've been rooting for. That's our blood right there. So, yeah, I the main goal is to see them win a championship. I could give 2 shits who the coach is. As long as that team goes and plays and wins and changes this culture and starts to win and brings us back to being a formidable organization instead of being a laughingstock, then by all means, great. You know, and again, like, I have no problem then going back and being like, hey, I was wrong about Gase, or I was wrong about, you know, a player, or, you know, whoever. So, but yeah, at some point, yeah, the shit's got to change, and I just look at it as, I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing. I mean, I hate sounding that way, but again, every Sunday, or, you know, whenever it is that they play, bet your ass I'm going to be in front of the TV or on my phone watching the game. So
yeah, of course. No, dude, I agree. Yeah. I completely agree with you, dude. Completely agree. Listen, and I'll say it a million times. Listen, I'd love to be wrong about Gase. I'd love to go 12-4 this year, make a run. Like, I'd be like, at the end of the day, we want to win, dude, and that's what makes this all so annoying. But it's like, we see things, and you're like, you want to believe, you want to hope, and there's things that concern you. Like, there's always there's like a red flag that you just can't ignore. And if you don't say it, you're not being honest with yourself. So that's a lot of times we just speak out and say, listen, this is bullshit, and we know it is. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, you know, I can make a very good case. This team should be very competitive this year. You know, like, you can get they had every bad break in the world last year. You reverse 3 or 4 of those, and this could be a very good team this year. You never, you know, a lot of new talent, whatever else. But Ryan, I asked you, let's see, we did 40 minutes. I've asked you 40 minutes of questions. Do you have anything that you want to ask me?
Okay. So all right, so considering the team trying to establish this culture and accountability, all right, could you see there being a point in the season that if things go south, do you see them letting Gase go in the middle of the season at any point, or do you think they would let him finish it out?
See, I'm amongst the belief that this team is already ready to sell a 5 or 6 win team to us and bring back Gase next year as a make it or break it year. That's my honest opinion. I think that Sam Darnold's going to play good enough that's going to inspire us. Like, we only won 5 or 6 games, but we already have the built-in excuse of the schedule. Then you had to change 4 offensive linemen. You have 2 new receivers. Like, there's enough change on offense. I think he's going to justify that. This is, in theory, his first rebuild year with Joe Douglas, because last year they couldn't do shit together. So for me, that's the kind of feeling I get, where it's like, and people don't want to hear this, I just think it's the way it is. And I think this year I have this funny feeling, no matter what happens, as long as they win, I say 6 games this year, I think Gase comes back. That's just my honest opinion.
Good for me.
Did you start drinking?
Yeah, I was in the middle of taking another swig real quick. So, I do want to say 2 other players, because I know you asked a couple about the favorite players. Of course, Dennis Byrd was my one. Victor Green is another one.
Yep.
And then my dude right now is Terrell Basham, just because he's a hometown guy here. So, you know,
he's a good player too, man.
Dude, he started to take off, and I was loving every bit of it. And of course, like, granted, through work, I was able to get one of his jerseys. So I was like, sold. Cool. I'm here. Yeah. So plus, he's an outside. He's not like your typical name that a lot of people go and get jerseys for. So I think Braden Mann will probably be my next jersey that I go and get, just for shit.
A punter.
Yeah. But
hey, why not?
Yeah, but I mean, for Victor Green, just the amount of stuff that, just again, what kind of a player he was on and off the field.
Yep.
You know, his ball awareness, you know, high motor. He was a vicious tackler. I mean, and especially now, like, everything he does with the Victor Green Foundation is just amazing to help the youth. So, and like I said, big shout out to Terrell Basham too, just because of him being, you know, hometown dude. So, and probably one of the other biggest experiences for me was coming up there for the Houston game. And that was, granted, I understand that the Jets didn't win that game, but it wasn't about win-loss for me. That was one of those things where over 30 years worth of time of me wanting to come up and experience a home game, and just hearing it through other fans and people from New York, especially, like I said, me being from Virginia and just never getting the opportunity to come up. And that was the biggest thing that I could have ever wanted an experience, was just that culture, that family environment of so many people. And like how you had said, with the Jets chant. And, you know, granted, over the years of meeting everybody and talking to all you guys and Tyrone especially, I mean, he's been, oh man, it's awesome. Like the day meeting him, it was like a lifelong friend that I just hadn't seen in a while. And that was the first time of seeing him. And, but getting to meet you guys, and then of course coming up there, and I mean, I can't thank all of you guys enough. I mean, Panda, Debbie, Michelle, Euros, Robbie, Jersey, Steve, you know, dude, I about lost my, granted I had quite a few beers to drink, but turning around and seeing Fireman Ed there, dude, I've never been starstruck in my life, and I about broke down and lost it. Like, I had to walk away and just kneel down for a second because I just, it was insane. And I'll tell you what, that was probably like winning the lottery for me. Like, I swear to God, like the entire time of being in that parking lot, in L7 right there, dude, I was just in awe the entire time. It was just so many emotions, so many different thoughts hitting me at the same time, just the experience of being there. Melanie and I had actually gotten to the stadium, I think it was probably about an hour. We Ubered and we got there probably about an hour before everybody did. So they dropped us off. The parking lot was completely empty. And, of course, the guards let us go in. And I'm just standing there and just staring at the stadium. Now, granted, I understand that it's not the best stadium in the world, but for me, as a fan that's never been in that kind of an environment or situation, you know, and that's something that I had wanted to. I swear I sat there and I was just locked on the entire, and I was in disbelief the entire time, and especially sitting throughout the entire game. Like, I'm leaned over. Melanie's got pictures of it. I'm just leaned over, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm here. Like, I cannot believe it. It's just how cool everybody is, and how loving, and how, you know, it's just it's insane. Like I said, this is a fan base like none other, and I cannot thank, you know, you guys enough for everything. And it's for everything that you do, not just for me, for all the other fans. Granted, you guys say that y'all are just fans as well. You know, you guys do a whole lot for so many people, and we do appreciate you, and you guys are killing it, man. You, Jay, Kev, Joe, I can't, you know, you've always got someone here helping you out or supporting you, man. So you guys
dude, you're
just,
dude, you're very generous. Well, first of all, I'm glad you had a good time, man. Our tailgates are always like that. And the one thing about Jet fans, especially ones that travel, you saw us when we went down to Washington, dude. Like, it's like a party, man. Like, everybody's just like, we have like that bond. It's the bond of the team, and everybody's out for a good time. It's a very, in that aspect, it's a very, very cool fan base. Away games are always like that. Yeah. Road trips are always like that, so it's really cool. But, dude, you're very generous, too, man. You send us really cool shit with the shirts and the beer mugs and all that, so we really do. And it's like, dude, it's like a family. Even like Tyrone, like meeting you and Tyrone was so cool because we talked for so long. It's like, you guys call on the show, we'll tweet back and forth, we do all this stuff, then we finally get a chance to hang out. It's like, dude, they're like all brothers, you know? It's a cool, really cool experience. I'm glad you guys had fun. We definitely got to do it again. I tell you, I'm coming down there, man. Once this pandemic is over, I'm coming down there. We're going to tear things to pieces.
Oh, you better believe it, man.
So, Ryan, before I let you go, man, give out this. First of all, this was a phenomenal interview. You just kicked ass. I'm going to promote the shit out of this, but give out your information, how everybody can follow you.
Yeah, so Facebook is just Ryan Barger. It's my name. Twitter and Instagram, it's at NYJRB31. So,
I gotta follow you on Instagram. I don't think I follow you on Instagram. No shit.
Well, Instagram is more of I just have it to scroll through. I mean, granted, I've got family and friends on there that post shit all the time, but for me, it's more keeping up with sports news. Like, I don't ever post anything on Instagram. So it's either Facebook or Twitter. Mostly it's going to be Twitter that I interact with people on. So, but you can get me either way.
Well, Ryan, first of all, dude, it's always good talking to you, man. I'm glad we had finally a chance to do this and just talk. Now we get to hang out with you and Melanie again. Thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for everything you do for us, man. You hooked up with a really cool Twitter profile now, which I love that. So thank you, man, so much. Have a good night. Stay safe down there, because this shit's crazy. And I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, man. You too. Take care.
Have a good night. All right. That was Ryan Barger, a good friend of mine. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's just, I could talk football with him for hours. So you want to come on this and do a one-on-one interview, talk some football, just hit us up. DM, very easy, TRAUCH, or at Talk Jets Radio on Twitter. And we'll talk to you guys next time.